We got anybody coming through tonight? We'll give y'all some time to come on. If y'all are live, let's do it. We're gonna see what we're working with. Just gonna do this thing and see what I'm working with. See how we feeling. See what we got to be saying. It's a lot of stuff to get up on. And like I said, I know I wasn't here yesterday. See if people hold it against me, but I don't know. Things have been going good. There's a lot of comments and everything, so we're gonna see what we're working with. See what the words are. So we got. I'm here for a minute. And I will just sit here and reflect. So now some mails. Come on now, I know people come around talking. There's a lot of stuff to get into. We got sports, we got music, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Time you turn around, there's something going on. People got thoughts and takes and feelings, and we're just gonna see what we're working with. You know, see what we got. Just low key and see what we're talking about and see what's up, see what's up. See what we got real quick. I know it's kind of like people got stuff going on. The weather is good. Depends on where you're living. Depends on how you're feeling. See what we're talking about. See how everybody's kind of like getting to it, just getting comfortable. It's a lot of different conversations, a lot of persuasions. Checking some of this. It's funny when you got a lot of email, you got a lot of stuff going on. So it's kind of like how you just inundate yourself. I don't know. I don't know. I don't play those kind of games. I'd run a live stream, not something that you got to tell me because I don't know. I don't know nothing about what no potato says. I just don't want to be a potato head. But anyway, so we're gonna see what we're working with. Um, I don't know because I didn't. You didn't spell it correct. So what did it say to the old potato? So I don't know what that means in English. So forgive me for being lost, but you can enlighten me. I don't know who you are and where you come from, but you are my first person to come through tonight. And introduce yourself and let me know what you'd like to talk about. Usually, when someone comes by, I would be curious to what they like to converse about. Unless they're just trolling. I don't know. But I wish you would say something as a conversation because it feels like you're trolling. And I like to think that I merit more than just getting trolled. So feel free to say what's on your mind. Because I don't tell potato jokes. And I don't even eat potatoes, really. And I just messed up. Oh, God. This thing messed me up. I get all this stuff out. Sometimes computers be acting crazy. Sometimes people just like be mere mortals. Hello, how you doing? And where you coming from? Teresa Turner. I have a sense of humor. I just don't want nothing to turn vulgar or something that I can't comprehend. And I'm not going to answer stuff because it could be a troll setup. So if you got something to say, you can tell me where you're from. You can tell me where you are and where you're, because I really don't know. I've been on? Okay. Where are you from? Oh, you've been on before, but refresh my memory. Do tell. And how was your day? Let's start with that. Let's get reacquainted. How was your day? How you been? How was your weekend? And what did you get into? That's good to hear. And did you do anything in particular? Did Was the weather nice? I never know because people troll in different ways. But because on here I talk about. Okay, you can talk about music. We talk about sports. We talk about politics. We can talk about whatever you like. I'm sure if you want to talk about Puffy, we can talk about Puffy too. Whatever is happening, feel free. I have a great sense of humor. You just have to know how to, when you say wordplay, I'll definitely have you laughing. I am like a part time comedian, so. And funny and humor is part of my middle name. So let's see what we're working with. Because I like to laugh. So let's get a drum roll. Da, 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 da. So let's see how funny we can be. We can see what humor we can be. I always like it when people, tell me more about themselves, um, things that they did. Feel free. I'd like to know, so feel free to share. So we don't have no miscommunication. What's up? What's up? Thank you. Now I know somebody's going to actually talk. So thank you. Glad you came through. I was out yesterday. Nobody told me that the road teams were going to win. Oh boy, the Pacers spanked the Knicks up, and then Minnesota came from behind. Oh wow, 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 wow. Yeah, yeah, literally took me back. And both impressive. You know good and well Adam Silver would roll over in his grave if that became the finals. Wouldn't that be something? Minnesota versus Indiana in the finals. That would be like, oh, that would be like one of the craziest finals ever. I would love it though. I would. I'll tell you why, because Rick Carlisle is one of the most underrated head coaches. That guy can coach. And the scary part about them, Pascal is a dangerous dude. That's a dangerous dude as a second option who can look like a first. He is battle tested. So, yeah. So, but Spike Lee and them, they had to give their applause. They knew they were sad last night. I cracked up. Oh, that was hilarious. I said Jalen Brunson, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised. I told you that. I told you that. And see, the hottest guy is who? Donovan Mitchell. Told you. I peeped that out because even if everybody is healthy, the way Tibbs plays and runs his players to the ground, that Dan Tony system, he ain't learned nothing from Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was a Hall of Fame first ballot. Now it might take some work to get him in. And he just kills people's careers off. Tibbs is like one of the worst violators of that. He's such a contrarian and a control freak. What I like about that tune, that's the first team I've seen that I'll say this. The Raptors were a team when Kawhi went there, but they needed Kawhi to win. These guys really feed off of Ant. They really focus. They have a next man up. They really, when they're in tune, I'm very impressed. And when I mentioned that Pistons team from 20 years ago, their defense is what makes me think of that. I know Stephen A. went on with the Bulls. That's not the fair comparison because you need a dominant situation. And you got to remember, you might not think of Booker and Durant as dominant in Beal, but they went against offensive force. And then they just got through going against Jokic and Murray, who, ain't shabby. These guys can play defense, even despite Rudy Gobert. Despite Rudy Gobert soft. So well, now it's set up for him to win the chip. You gotta know the obvious. Minnesota and Dallas gonna beat up on each other. Okay. If they finish the Pacers off in 6, but the Pacers are a strange anomaly. They crazy enough to be a problem in that series. They crazy enough to be a problem. I wouldn't call it an upset if they beat Boston. Some people would. I wouldn't. Cause see, the thing about them is that Tyrese Halliburton, they can score, and Pascal is a difference maker. Pascal is battle tested too. Miles Turner's coming into his own. If they play smart, they just haven't played smart. That's the problem I have with the Pacers. They got a gift horse in the mouth beating Milwaukee, even though the way they played. But if they can halfway play a certain way, that could be a series. Of course, Boston is predicted to win in 5 or 6. But if that thing goes 7, I like the Pacers. The longer the series goes, the more I like the Pacers. Just saying. I saw it. And he did the right thing, too. Spike and them were ready to clown him. They were down 2-0. They tore their behind up in Indiana. They should have won. The truth is, they should have won that first game or the second game in New York. They should have finished the Knicks off in about 6 games. They kind of hurt their own cause by not playing smart. Because the way they shot great last night, and that could be a problem for Boston. But if they decide to put booty in the glass, that's where they're a problem. That's their problem. You know, I saw it, and Reggie was happy too. Ain't it funny? 30 years later, except the difference was, and they got the talent. They don't really have that one dude that I'm scared of. However, you want to know something, and they're very flawed. But I'm gonna say this: Indiana, like Minnesota, plays team ball, and they're deep too. Just a helpful hint to you. If the NBA wasn't fixed, that could be your finals. I might do a video about that because quiet as is kept, those are two deepest teams that are there in the NBA right now. Quiet as is kept. Quiet as is kept. I dare anybody else to say that in a live chat that's talking basketball to say what I just said. You can hold me to it. I'm gonna say it right here. Minnesota, Indiana, the two deepest teams in the NBA. They play team ball. The difference is Minnesota actually clamps down, and then but Indiana, it's an interesting cycle that they play. And if the NBA wasn't rigged, I'd say that could be the finals. But we know. Yeah, you gotta say it. Especially now. He's got this team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Who the heck saw the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals? Who? And he went, he went deep with the Pacers before he won the chip with Dallas. So, you know, they teed you got a fan. I don't know who they is. Yeah. 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 It sure would. Because Luca hated him and got his butt up out of there. It's been a while since I seen Red Rum. And sometimes people come and go, and I got to be reminded. Ugh. But anyway. Well, he ran. You remember him and Rondo got into it. He like there was one. He's a straight shooter to an extent. He can't be that much of a straight shooter because he's coaching a team that don't play no defense. They just say they be okay. This is not a product of him. This is like Rick Carlisle turned into Steve Kerr. That's basically what he's doing. It ain't Pat Riley now. He turned into Steve Kerr. Because if you watch the Pacers, they just shot him out the building last night. That's all that was. There wasn't no defense. They just shot them up. That was a heck of a performance, though. And I did say they can outscore you. And it's an interesting concept. So he might be changing. Pat Riley did adapt, but Riley had his flavor. His, because of where he coached the Lakers and the Knicks and Miami and the stylings. But I'm not gonna say Carlin's a straight shooter though. But he can definitely coach. There's no question about it. He definitely adapted. Because if you didn't know what you're doing, You got talent there. You got talent with Indiana. I didn't say they weren't talented. It's just that they're sporadic. They streaky. They frustrating. You know, but they can when they get going, they could be a problem. You know, and the one person you got to worry about for the Pacers is Miles Turner, because if he gets going in the box, watch out. Watch out. I still think him and Pascal can have a huge series. This is where they're gonna miss Porzingis if they get Boston comfortable and they batter them up and then put the boom on them. This could be a series. It could be a series. I think you got some compelling stories going. Of course, there's a lot of storylines with these Final Four. The Pacers the only one. It's not so much quite the story, but they just a cast of misfits. But they would be compelling. Wouldn't it be something if they won the championship, but they lost the in-season tournament? Wouldn't that? How hilarious would that be? How hilarious would that be? That would be hilarious. You are in the era of NBA parity, though, because take Golden State and the Lakers out the last few years, which is kind of hard. But you've had Milwaukee and you had Denver. Bet he did. I bet he did. He had every reason to troll them because they ain't learned nothing. They ain't learned nothing. And the sad part is the Knicks could have used Reggie. And you like any of these teams, to be honest with you, and I'm not gonna put Reggie Miller in this. You gotta have him, like that all-time great or nothing like that. But I'm gonna tell you something. If Reggie Miller was playing with some of these teams, these series would have been different. OKC, Denver, New York, Philadelphia. Oh yeah. So hmm. Yeah, he was very salty, but he got out coached. He didn't um he was I mean the whole episode with the refs. Listen, your offense was complacent. Aside from Jokic and Murray to an extent, you had one good game with Gordon, a game and a half. You got out hustled, out hearted. You didn't put no putbacks. You just floated. You don't blow a 20-point lead at home. And you don't have 3 games at home where you get held on 100 points. They got tightened with him. But that's where Aaron Gordon has to step up. Portis has to step up. KCP has to step up. Joe Dumars it's different than him and Reggie. I don't know. I don't know about that. All right, Red Rum. Appreciate you. What happened was they can't shoot. They have no easy buckets. That's what happened. It wasn't so much that we got locked up. They don't have no spacing. Those guys can't shoot. So Jamal is asked to take over. Jokic is playing a two-man team. Well, what he did is that they can't shoot. You know, they don't make easy buckets. That's what the problem is. You got to figure out a way to have easy buckets. You run in breaks, you got to keep scoring. Turn the ball over, slow the game down. That's how Minnesota got back in. Minnesota can shoot the three. They're not a high volume shooter, they can shoot it. But if you turn the ball over, you get sloppy, which Denver does. You got no one to blame but yourself. And Shaq looks good, by the way. I did a Shaq video. Shaq is vindicated big time. Y'all can take that. The Lakers still suck. This is so bad on so many levels. It's not even funny. Yeah, I see it. I see what I see. Because you know it's true. 20-point lead blown. Can't, trying to manipulate with a two-man team. Yeah. How smart he was utilizing his skill set. He understood his foot placements. He was more knowledgeable of the game than he got credit for. It's that because he was big that he didn't understand his movement in the course. Shaq played with and without the ball. You have to understand that be fundamental to last as long as he did. So he adapted. He adapted to his surroundings more credit than he gets. He wasn't just some big slob of meat. I think his toughness. The guy was hobbling in the Super Bowl against Philly. He just keeps coming back. You don't break him. You don't. He just won't let himself. He's relentless. He's tough, and I think that doesn't get talked about enough. Well, the problem with Jokic and Murray is that there was no third wheel, which has been their Achilles. And I said this about Donovan Mitchell. Whatever you want to put in, they need somebody. And they're missing Bruce Brown. They're missing Jeff Green off the bench. They don't have easy buckets. And that caught them in the behind in this series. I think just the way that he uses his body, because he can get those 10-yard routes and he really knows how to utilize his strength and his skill set. He uses his body real well to protect himself, to taking a hit, but also he has speed and he has strength. And he's very smart with how he uses his body like a center, as a tight end. We play them every time, and he's smart like that. Well, he's a different type of a center, AM. I mean, he can shoot. That's not why they lost. That's not why they lost. He can score. I brought up an interesting stat, and Ted will tell you this to me. He wasn't wasting. What happened was, if he scores more than 30 points, that's a L. And under 20, that's a L. If he can't stay in the 24 to 27, 8 range, that ain't no wasted opportunities. They've been getting forced. The reason was because Aaron Gordon couldn't post up and score. Portis Jr. couldn't score. There was nothing in the box. Them trees out there, you gotta move them trees around. And Minnesota was messing the tempo. And Minnesota was taking them out of sweet spots. They weren't letting them get off. That's what happened. And when you ain't got no bench, you have to blow and win. That's what happened. Low post. And see, when he can stat up, he put up 34 and 19. What else you want? 7 dimes. They're not able to move. Minnesota locked them up. You don't make shots, you know. And then they got held in check. That's what happened. They didn't look good in the playoffs this year. Can I just say that? Because they shouldn't have beaten. Well, thank you. They shouldn't have beaten. Appreciate that, Austin. They shouldn't have beat the Lakers. I tell Teddy all the time. The Lakers ought to be. They should fire themselves. LeBron and them should take a pay cut because they should have made that a 6-7 game series, and they were sluggish. Well, I think the problem was when Murray is more of a closer. See, they fell into the trap. If you watch the Nuggets, like to have Murray catch fire second half. If you're gonna put a team away early, well, y'all had the refs help, but y'all can't make all y'all free throws. And also, the problem that y'all ran into is that Anthony Davis should have been pushing 40, 50 points. That's why y'all lost. They got tight with them, but the problem is that Denver's problem, they didn't have a third wheel. I'm gonna tell you a story that I do. Whenever I'm watching the stat sheet, right? So if I'm watching the game online or if I'm watching the game, right, I like to see the column. So if I see guys that you got 4 or 5 guys that's got 8, 9 points, usually that's what you got to do. I'm gonna tell you something. We're not in the big three era anymore. We're in the big 4, 5 era. You got to play team ball. That's what Minnesota did. You know, so the Lakers just got out. They just didn't bring it, and they needed, and that fraudulent D'Lo and AK got exposed, and then LeBron got exposed too. Now, well, you know what? The powers that be want Boston and Dallas. That's the one they want. That's the one they want. But the powers that be want Boston to get that ring because they need Jason Tatum to solidify himself. You go know they got a lot of money on Tatum, but I'm gonna tell you something. The Pacers are a crazy bipolar team. They could mess things up. They hate Kyrie, so that's gonna be the reason why Boston would win the finals. Is the fix is on. Ain't no way in the world Adam Silver gonna stand there and give Kyrie an award. Okay, so get that out your head. If Luca had anybody else as a teammate, I better stop because I sound like I'm talking about a movie script. So I'm gonna shut up because y'all gonna think I'm a conspiracy theorist and I'm gonna start making too much sense. So I'm gonna shut up while I'm ahead. You know, good and well, Kyrie ain't getting no ring with no Adam Silver. You already know this, right? Unless he just cries or something. Because you know, if Kyrie did win the ring again, he'd probably be quoting Kendrick Lamar or something. He'd say something off the wall, which would get them white ball for good. But I'm just saying. But yeah, they want Tatum and Brown to get up there. Oh, here you go again with your Tim Hardaway Jr. played well. The reason why they won that series was OKC ain't got no help. That's the only reason why Shea. It wasn't because it was PJ Washington actually. They hit them boards. Him and O'Board was on them boards. That's what it was. They hustled. They out hustled OKC. I probably picked Shea. I probably picked Shea. Because Shea with Wimby would be sick too. If I could go in today. I like Washington, all right. I don't know about that Hardaway Jr. mess. I don't know. There's some truth to that. He had a bigger career than Sean Kemp. Because Tim Hardaway Sr. in Golden State and Miami had a bigger career than Kemp. Kemp got to a finals and looked good in it. And that may be your only rallying cry and maybe it's a slam dunk in game. But Tim Hardaway Sr. was better at his situation than Sean Kemp. They were both electrifying in different ways, but Tim Hardaway Sr. had a bigger run. I think his post up game. I think Gary's post up game was something else. 6'1", posting you up. He was strong. And one of my favorite players. I always give Glove his love. Um, he is actually doesn't get enough for how agile he is. He's very athletic. He's you know, he wiry, but he's very agile. I don't think he gets enough love for that. I think he's a very agile player. Movement too, good rhythm. Has a rhythm to the way he shoots too. Cause like he catches, he's got like a rhythm to him. You know, it's just that he just doesn't have that lead dog in him. Stockton, I think that how he could move his feet, he really could work his feet really well. He obviously had a great movement to him. Underrated rhythm. He was very much movable. He could really move. He was very deceptive. Had a little quickness to him. You had to be really in tune to what he was doing. It's not that concerning. What they did is they stripped him because they was picking his pocket. They went at him to make him put the ball on the ground because Kyrie and Harden weren't really handling the rock. So KD got caught out there no man's island trying to he ended up getting out there shuffling. But you gotta remember something. They defended him on the top because they knew he was the only one that could push that movement. They didn't think Kyrie couldn't, they knew Harden couldn't. That's what happened. You just all no pet peeves. The only thing you ever hope is that the two best team, four best teams are playing. You know, you just want the best teams to be playing. That's all. I never have anything bad to say as long as the four best teams are playing. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't really make a big deal about it. After a while, most of these guys fight gonna lose. Did they screw them or did Shaq get screwed too? Remember game two. Let me bring up some points and let's see if you can refute. Shaq was headed towards a 50-point game and they threw him out. He was going crazy game two. Um excuse me. No COVID. Excuse me. Um game five. Game five. There was a play where Chris Webber lost the ball out of bounds. That should have been Laker ball. Now Kobe grabbed a hold of Bobby Jackson's jersey, but there was some bad calls there. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And the thing is this, if you're gonna say that, then talk about Shaq getting the flops and all the stuff that they did. So it kind of evens itself out when I think about it. So they had a chance to win game seven in Sacramento and they didn't do it. Um Pager went cold. They had overtime. They didn't do it. So you can't depend on the refs to save you. Yeah. Well, like Shaq said, it wasn't a robbery either. He was. But they also had to call a flop, and that's what messed it up. They know good and well that if we're referring all things being equal, he'd be averaging 35 plus. They allowed that acting to go in there. My moments are always when he was winning. For a year he did, but he wasn't even my favorite guard on that team. My favorite guard on that team was Bobby Jackson. Bibby didn't do nothing after that 2002. Think I forgot when the next year he's on the sidelines clipping his fingernails or something. Or one of them year. He ain't do much of nothing. Jay Will was a good fit, but Bibby was a better fit, but um, he's mine too. It's not popular to say because people listen. I can make the case Kareem is the greatest player ever. Bill Russell's the greatest player ever. I can say the four greatest centers are the four greatest players ever. Shaq was dominant, and I know people before people come throwing Kobe and D Wade. Kobe wasn't Kobe like he became. Shaq was the best player on that team. Dwayne Wade stood up in the finals and was great, but Shaq was an equal contributor. So don't get it twisted. And Shaq was in. I think Chamberlain has his own separate category as a force. And I ain't gonna argue with you on it. But why I have Shaq because he won more. Wilt played on two of the greatest teams ever. Shaq never had great teams except for that 2000 season. But he willed himself. So it all depends on what your criteria is. Wilt was a special specimen, he was an incredible talent. Probably the most talented player you can make the case. He has two more rings, and you can make the magic argument against him. Because I don't believe if you put Shaq with Magic, he has rings on his toes. In what universe? In what universe? What universe? Is you trolling now? Please, no one believes that one. They don't believe that one because they're Asian descent. Come on, you gotta do better than that. That's that's hilarious. No one believes that. Where did you dig that one out of? What are you a comedian now? That's funny. That's funny. That was funny. We needed a good laugh up in here. That was funny. Thank you. I mean, that is so random. It is hilarious. Not quite. Not quite. Because the sum of the parts ain't quite like that. No, well, the problem with y'all is he couldn't stay healthy. He didn't put some weight on. And I don't really think his game developed. Jeremy Lin had an out of body for a few weeks. But I don't know about that making them you know, I don't know if that makes them a duo though. That's kind of funny in a twisted way. But I don't condone it though, because I didn't see it. I didn't see neither one where I sat there and I go, oh, if they had a played together. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I just got to plead the fifth on that one. I don't know. Because maybe you got a different TV set than I had back then. I didn't see it.
The cannabis and Kerry nice about it in schools. Weed. So they do it in school. Don't you get in trouble without getting caught? What happens if you get caught? I think you get expelled. You get 10, yeah, for that cannibal. You get kicked out of school, but for serious or something like that, you just get suspended for 10 days. Suspended. What if you're gonna? What do you have to do to get expelled? He's gonna do something. Like you can have a weapon or like a knife or something, right? And you can just be flashing it, or you can just take it out your pocket and then expel you from school for having it.
Okay. The only problem with your question is two problems. Are we going by ABA or NBA rules? Because you got to remember something. It's it only makes sense based on what your criteria is. No, if you're talking about as a duo, Ted, he's talking as a duo, and I want to know if we're going by NBA or ABA. Depends. See, I don't think he understands what he's saying. Because if he's understanding what he's saying, there is a duo. Their duo question. And then the question is, are we going by ABA or NBA rules? And it's actually a good question too. It's just that I gotta know what are we going by? Are we going by NBA or ABA?
Did you get a lot of fights in your school? Yeah. Can the teachers control it? No. Not this one.
So ABA, they had 3-point line. They had a different ball. Okay. And see, it's not even fair to go by the 4-4-4 because at that time, that's a good question. All in their prime, I'm going Dr. J and Moses. Because Moses could hang with Kareem, and Dr. J was hanging in the air. So they were a problem. They were a problem. And I'll make the case Dr. J had Moses as opposed to being stuck with Caldwell Jones. May have been a different situation. Because Moses was a beast. You remember he was a 3-time league MVP. And what a lot of people don't talk about, he was arguably the next most dominant center after Kareem. And he put wood to him. So I think they could win. Hmm. A lot of times, Dr. J just didn't have that muscle to finish off. That's what hurt him probably having more NBA success at the center position. And Lord knows Moses took the Rockets to the finals with Calvin Murphy, Allen Lovell, Roby John against Boston. And Dr. J went to the finals with Caldwell Jones and stuff. So you put him with a dominant, what happened when they 4-4-4, and they had one of the best postseason runs ever, which no one talks about anymore, which is sad to me because I remember that run, 4-4-4.
We got them all over the place. It's so rough there. I mean, like, how you mean? It is rough, but it's all right though. Confident where we live, it ain't rowdy. If you just let me see. If you say if you mind your, I used to live in Confident. Brixton was a very good experience for the
He
children,
was.
for Pam and myself. It's really hard to say exactly, except it was like meeting a brother. The love that people shared, the concern, are you doing okay? And seeing the youngsters interact with each other.
Dr. J was incredible in the ABA. And if you put his ABA era, he could almost be top 10. That's how great he was.
On behalf of the double Dutch girls, we like to present these votes to your school.
ABA Dr. J is like top 10 ever. I think y'all don't know. Because he was as good almost as anything I seen. He was an incredible ABA player. He was still a great NBA player. He did come into the NBA and he did win MVP. He was great, but that guy in the ABA was like on another level. He's had 2 careers. Great question. This is a great question. I think they all overrated. But I think he's probably the most. Yeah. I think they all I think you can make a case almost all everybody is overrated because things had to fall into place. The only one I wouldn't consider, the only person I wouldn't consider probably overrated might be Tim Duncan. He's one of the few I would say about. Rick Barry was. Rick Barry was incredible talent. If it wasn't for Larry Bird from the white perspective, Rick Barry would be that white dude. He was incredible. Um, Dr. J, George Gervin, Moses, those guys, George McGinnis, those guys. You had so many guys, Marvin Barnes, so many guys that could flat out play, the creativity, and they were fundamental too. They weren't just some cats that just was jacking shots. They could actually play. They could actually shoot. They actually had positioning. They actually had a purpose. It was some beautiful basketball. Wes, who? You talking about Wes Unso? The man knew how to put the right teams together. What can I say? The man was smart. It, when you're gonna have a dynasty, you got to know what you're doing. What about Ansel? That's the thing about Radar Bach that I got much respect for. He knew how to put a team together. He knew how to put the right people in places. That's that's boss moves right there. That's what a lot of guys don't get. They spend money, but they don't. They throw money, and then it's kind of like what you're looking at your Lakers. You had Andre Drummond. Yeah, like I forgot about that move. Russell Westbrook. I didn't see some of the moves y'all done made, messing with Schroeder, some of the pieces and paces, and they just don't. They're what I call patchy pieces. No, he was NBA. He was a rookie of the year and MVP with the Baltimore Bullets. It was an ABA. He came straight to the NBA. Anyway, so you got to know how to put a team together is a special skill set. And I look at teams, and that's the only problem with OKC. They come up with top tier talent. They just don't put the right team to ground when they get these superstars. That's their problem. And then they burn them out after 6 years, and then cats leave. Gotta know how to put the right teammates when you got guys. It's something that you can't miss. That's what the Spurs were able to do so well. Stock and refuel. But teams that know how to draft tend to get it right. Oh, excuse me. I think it still turns out just the way it was because Duncan had a skill set that it was contagious. You got to remember something. He played with David Robinson, and that was an old guard in a different style. Then you bring in Parker and Ginobili, but he was able to adapt. Parker and Ginobili weren't considered top tier guards duos. Let that sink in. And Ginobili started as a sixth man. Let that sink in. But it's obviously the fundamental aspect of Duncan's game that endured. And I don't think KG, because KG's style, Popovich may drove him crazy. He wasn't better than Gary Payton. He wasn't better than Jason Kidd. I like Parker. In case you don't remember, after they beat the Nets in the finals, I quote, Popovich wanted to trade him. No, I don't know about all that. We're going to do a countdown. He was going to trade him for Jason Kidd. Let's see. Let's go. Steph, Magic, Isaiah, Oscar Robertson, John Stockton, Gary Payton. That's six right there. Chris Paul gets love. That's seven. I'm missing a couple cats. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close because you can make a case for Steve Nash. That's eight. Now I got two more slots to fill. Who's gonna fill in my final 2 point guard slots? Who can I pick on? Hard to say Zeke. I'm at eight already. I haven't come up to no Tony Parker yet, so I'm still thinking. Somebody gonna throw Bob Cousy out there. That could be nine. Argue if you want to. Somebody might debate, was Jerry West a point guard? Or to mention Oscar Robertson. See, you gotta be thinking about this. Parker was integral, but I, yeah, tapped at the end, not one of them guys that were biling. I had more respect for his game than I did Nash, But when you talk about Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, Parker was after those guys. But Duncan, you could just rub off. He rubbed off on you, and I think if you trade him to Minnesota, they do great. I do. No, only because of his success. Well, team ball. But yeah, I forgot about Russell. Russell's gonna be considered a top 10. There you go. You just helped me out. Russell's gonna be considered a top 10. Nash got two MVPs. They'll work that in his way. I might like Parker more, but it's close. It's not what I want you to understand. It ain't etched in gold he's top 10. Because he sure as heck ain't top 5 or 6. And considering that he had rings and success, you know, so, you know, that's the problem he runs into. Just like Ginobili ain't considered a top 10 two guard. But they played with a guy as great as Tim Duncan, where they all go Hall of Fame, they all look great, and then you can debate. I like Ginobili a lot. Parker had that crazy teardropper, and he was good. He was very good. He was, when you start talking about all time great, though, you got to understand. You can think of names, and you're like, okay, how does he fit against this guy? Where does he rank against that guy? So, and even I wouldn't have him. Maybe if I don't have him top 10, but I might have him in 11 or 15 slot. Yeah, that'd be great too. In what universe? What universe? He never. I don't know if he could have. Kawhi was a great talent, but he was more dangerous with the Spurs, and of course, he went to Toronto, and he ain't been seen since. He been on a milk carton since 2019. So stop, please. Because a guy like Popovich to keep his foot in his behind is exactly what Kawhi needs. And how's that Clipper life been? You almost forget how great of a player he is. You got to be reminded. He got old before your eyes, and he ain't really played. I don't know about that. It didn't work that good in Charlotte. I know he was older, but it didn't work out. He can move the rock and he's got movement, but I don't know how great he would have been on any offense. That's a big statement. That's almost saying that he's in the Magic, Steph, Oscar Robinson, Zeke level. He ain't. He ain't. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You gotta watch how you word that because you making him sound like something he ain't. And I don't see it like that. Regardless, they was talking about getting rid of him. Well, Chris Paul's got him beat. Uh, you know, you might put him 10. It's close, but he ain't in the top argument. That's all I'm trying to tell you. You can look it up and debate. Ain't nobody gonna come and tell you Frenchie is in the top argument with some of these cats I mentioned. He's got rings and he's got a Finals MVP, but no one really holds him as a top 5 or 6 point guard ever. He might crawl into 7 to 10, but when you got the credentials he's got, that's a slap in the face. Did enough to get by last night. For one round, he's safe. Like I said, it depends on what top 10, what you're in top 10 in cruise. It's close. It's close. And it's not a compliment. I don't think you get it. It's not a compliment because when you have his success he has, if Chris Paul had won a, a quarter of Tony Parker's career accomplishments, they say top four ever. Okay, think about it. He had an Elijah one moment that cracked me up because he dream shook and floated that rock. That's when you knew it was game over. That's the one of the few times that back in the day that came to my mind. We used to do stuff like that, even pickup games. If a cat hit something he ain't supposed to hit, we called it a game. We were like game over. We got to start over. That's it. We used to do that all the time back on the pickup. Cat makes some crazy shit like because it's like I may as well go and play scratch tickets and hit the lottery with this turkey because we can hit the double. He ain't gonna do that ever. He was shocked more than you. I'm like, oh, you bust out a dream shake? You like Elijah one now? Hit that float? It's like Elijah one meets Isaiah Thomas with that high scoop. I was like, wow. If he could do something like that, they win the chip. They win up two rings. If Gobert can actually even find offense like that, they win two rings in a row. I ain't lying. And he has to be upset with all them awards and things that he's got that he's just considered as tenderoni. So yeah, he was shocker than you. Yeah, I think he was shocked more than anybody. I'm not gonna put a lot of stock in that. And I told you I'm not talking about football for a couple months. Let the NBA season over with, then I'll address that. I'm not paying them no mind. But then again, I wouldn't be at camp neither. You ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't got no quarterback. They ain't no threat. So, somebody will call them up asking for a pick or something with that. I'm not gonna really touch that right now. But if they mess up with that cat, they're gonna be really cursed. So, and I'm not gonna do a video about that either way because that's not video worthy. A lot of cats don't show up for camps. I'm not gonna hold that against him. But I will say in his defense, they're not setting him up for a good track with what they got. So that's why I don't really talk about football now if I can help it because it ain't that good. Oh man. Well, let me address this. Brandon Roy was probably my favorite Blazer. I liked him more than I did Dame. Brandon Roy was nice with it. You had to kind of be there and kind of see it to appreciate it. Brand Hill got better over time, but I think he was so busy compartmentalizing, trying to be an all around player. It's one of them things that, yeah, I mean, he was great, great talent, but I don't know. I don't think I don't think McGrady really got hurt. I just think he was mentally tough. That's my knock against T Mac. T Mac had the skill set to be a great player. So I don't think he finished. To answer your question, I think Brandon Roy of those three. Because I seen Grant and T Mac do something. Brandon Roy is the one that got really cut short. Of course they gonna defend him. But he's gotta take that L. He gotta take that L. You can't blow a 20-point lead and get smashed like that in game six on the road. And historical, there's a lot of riding on yours where you end up playing. Now, people who got egg on their face trying to say that you top five center ever because you didn't finish the job at the crib. He probably was hurt, but you know what? If you're out there playing, you ain't hurt. Sorry. And you got to beat them in other ways. You can still defend. You can give assists. You got to do stuff. I know he had a rough past month, obvious reasons with his brothers and everything, but you still got to bring it. So there's no excuse come money time, yo. You don't bring it, you don't eat. And they got out coached, they got out hustled, they got out man, they got treated like simps. And that's the bottom line. So I can't feel sorry for them. I thought they were a great team last year and they showed some signs, but you can't lose like that. That's a bad loss. Joker's got some fanboys. I know he do. Look, I think he's a great talent. Best player still going to the NBA. But that's gonna hurt it. That's gonna definitely be a strike against him. Blow a 20-point lead at home, and you can't. And they've been out of sorts as the leader of the team. You can't have guys get on the court and be that flat. They were lucky they didn't lose to the Lakers. So yeah, he'll sore behind because he was the reason. No, no. I think Jamal just has to be healthy and and continue to work on his game. I think he be pulling that Jimmy Butler mess though, which I don't like because he thinks he can turn on the postseason, and you got to play regular season too. I think Jamal's a top tier type of talent. It's just that inconsistency got with the injuries, but I know. But you don't have a leader on your team, okay? AD's too scared to stand up to LeBron, and LeBron is too arrogant to defer. And then when you have to depend on D'Lo and Austin Reeves and Rue, well, you saw what happened. They were through. They were an old man's team. You ever see a fighter go in the ring against a Vander Holyfield and fight them 12 rounds? And I stood with him. I was with him. Did you win a decision? No. Did you lose the fight? Yes. So what did you do? You're a professional, but you got to know how to finish. That was LeBron James's flaw in that fight in that series. If you're all around, you should be looking forward to playing Jokic, but you can't finish. You're old. Your team is old. Your team is predictable and busted. It's not the coach's fault. Times y'all just didn't give effort. Dwight Howard, what's prime AD? What good is having a body? No Diddy. What good is having a body and you don't know what to do with it? AD get hurt too much. He too soft, too tender. He ain't a prime dog. George Carl did that video. I did that video about George Carl. George Carl was right. AD's and never was. Everybody can see it. You can't be 7 foot and act like you 6'1" and you think you're a guard and you don't know how to take care of yourself. And you don't finish and you don't have no growling. You do all that, and all that growling, but you don't do it to LeBron James. You don't say, give me the rock. You don't demand nothing. You putty. No one takes him serious. As Dwight Howard is flawed as an offensive player. He had a couple moves, but you knew he was going to put something up. When was AD ever like that? AD had Boogie Cousins. Think I don't remember. Rondo. Think I don't remember. He had a nice little squad in New Orleans, but he pouted like a diva and got his butt out there and got to LA. He's not a top dog. You want to put my case in point? Let's see what happens when LeBron is gone at 80. But the way LeBron's playing, AD will be old and be dispendable by the time he gets to run the team. He's 32 now. Shoot. By the time LeBron leave, he'd be pushing 34, 35. Well, he'll be an old man. And all them injuries add up. He's been covered by the NBA for his shortcomings. I that would be Dwight. And I'm not big on Dwight's offense at all, but it's better. If AD had any kind of toughness about him, he'd be demanding a trade. And he would go great in the East. But he too cuddly. No Diddy, but he just cuddly. He rather be held and hold and all. Can't build a championship team around him. Can't build a team around him. Because LeBron's holding his hand. Yeah, you can't see it. And this guy ain't mad enough. And he gets at the press conference about, well, I want him to be my teammate. I want to come back. I'd be like fired up. I'd like, look, I should have gotten the ball. I had a game where we were up by 20. I was hitting for 40, 50. I can hang. I got respect for Jokic, but I can hang. You got to feed the beast. You got to think like that. Can't blame Darwin Ham when you act all soft. So that's how I feel about it. What I know. But I know I ain't alone. I dare you right now to go ask 100 Laker fans if AD was running the team, what how great they would be. I dare you. Because if they real Laker fans, 90 of them gonna look at you crazy and say, yeah. And you can throw John Stockton in there too. Don't forget Stockton. I told you, what did I tell you? T is my witness. I told him that them guys, they were gonna be ready for the Olympics because they're gonna get knocked out in the first round. I called it. Did I not call that? Did I not call it? Told you. Embiid. I said they're gonna have them all well rested. Because LeBron and KD didn't last long enough. AD didn't last long enough. They was ready. Steph, I told you. Who do you think it is? What do you mean who do I think it is? If I had to pick out that list, I'd say Elgin Baylor. If I had to pick out that list. Because Elgin Baylor is the most disrespected. That he was incredible. And there was no 3-point line, handheld check defense, physicality, and he still, when you look up his career point average and his totality, it's right there. The more popular answer is Charles Barkley. The begrudging answer is Karl Malone. No one's gonna really hold AI in that conversation, if I'm honest, or Stockton for different reasons. Because AI, they like his things they like about him, but it's Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor was better than anybody else on that list. History will tell you that. And I understand with Karl Malone because of the points he scored and how great he was. Yeah, they don't like him, black redneck. It's more about his personality and all that. And he didn't sell no jerseys. And he was a black countryman in the most whitest place in America almost. But I like Carl a lot. Great player. But I still got to say Elgin Baylor, though. Barkley's the more fashionable choice. He was popular. More popular than AI not winning it. That's a whole different argument when you get into that, though. That don't hurt him. Was he a judge at the slam dunk contest this past year, or do you have, or you don't remember that? Maybe that was too far back. Them 3 months ago was too far back for you. He didn't bug dance. He was just a country brother from the rural, like a black redneck. and he didn't have any. He didn't act like your typical player that was trying to mac and game. He just was a no, pretty much an all shucks kind of dude. He wasn't that far fetched in a way to Moses Malone. It's not what works against guys, and I hate it when we have these conversations because if that's the case, why don't you get mad at Josh Giddey? That wasn't what hurt these cats. And for the record, if you know anything about the NBA, I ain't trying to get on no high horse, but David Stern cleaned a lot of stuff up, just so you know, amongst some of your all-time favorites. No, he didn't bob his head. He was he was like a he was like what Latrell Sprewell is to the hood, except he was country. That's all. He just didn't sell no jerseys, and he played for one of the whitest places you could play for. That's why people be hating. And he also outworked Charles Barkley, who everybody loved. Karl Malone spoke from the hip when he said he didn't want to be on the court with Magic. You know, he said stuff that people talk. I'm not going to even address that because I don't say stuff like that. See, sometimes, and it's not that I do political correctness, I just do political consciousness. I'm not going to say anything about another race of people because that's as a stereotype that doesn't really mean that that could be true. Yeah, I don't like that statement. I'm going to take that one off. I don't want to ever put that kind of stuff up here. And that's a shots warning there. Because we don't got time for that kind of. When I talk about race, I'm serious about it. But I'm not going to sit here and say some stuff about people's heights or the body parts or this and that. It's not cool. I do enough where I talk about race and I'll allude to it. But I'm not going to say nothing like that. That's a bit much. So let's not let that happen again. Everybody's calling trolls. So. But just because Kobe may have said that doesn't mean that you have to repeat it. Kobe said some ignorant stuff. We all said some stuff, but there's not always to repeat it. I don't go quoting stuff that some of these entertainers, athletes say. So we were having a conversation about you asking me about different players. I like to stick to that. If you want to talk about race, we can talk about race, but I want to say I know he played. I followed that man all the way from Italy till he came to Pennsylvania. I'm very aware of Kobe and his fluent languages. He grew up. He grew up multi-syllabic. He was more international than some of the guys they brought over international. If you think about it, you talk about an American who had true international experience. That's some of the thing that's underrated about Kobe. His journey, incredible. But okay, let's keep this back in pocket because I am going to leave in about 5 minutes, and I really don't want to turn this into a situation that we weren't going there. We was trying to be civil. So I don't know why I got out of pocket. I am leaving in about 4 minutes though, but I don't understand why this got into this kind of connotation where it went there. No one had said anything racially about anybody. Okay, well, yeah. Well, you can say that, but there was kind of a lot of a way around the building to say it. He had great footwork. Kobe was a great athlete and a talent. I'm still processing him, Ted, because he can shoot. He has good movement. I think one of the things I like is he's always constantly moving without the ball. I just think, and he's got good hands. I just think that he has to make his decision making has to be a little bit more, you know, that's all. But I'm still processing him. Underrated skill right now is that he can move real well with about the ball. He covers a lot of space, and I think he got a lot of energy. I just think that he has to, when he goes against Tatum and them, he has to be prepared for, them trying to force him and they'll set on him shooting. I think if he can drive more, to beat the Celtics, they just gotta pound the glass. They just gotta get Miles Turner and Pascal and make them get off their back foot. That's how I look at it. Simplify their game. So that's all. But it's great for him. I mean, are you kidding me? He's in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that's quite an accomplishment. When you think about what that team was, now y'all guys can believe in yourself, and they never know. If he gets a chip with Dallas, yeah, he shuts up. It saves his legacy as a coach because of the mess with the Nets and then the mess with Milwaukee with Giannis. So it's like, okay, you got it right this time. So it would definitely, and he's looking good. He's looking good. I mean, I think that him getting this far is a really good in the right direction because people are impressed with Kyrie. Everybody's on the same accord. They're playing defense. They got a good team. They got good structure. So, you know, and I've always liked Kid. Kid's a smart player, smart mind as a coach. You know, a very smart cat when he applies himself. When he ain't doing, So, so that's all I gotta say about that. It's some compelling stories though. You have four intriguing stories. If the Pacers win, no one saw that coming, and that would be like a 1 year wonder. That's like wow. That gives the NBA. That means that you have to go play team deep. Minnesota wins. Ant's the new face of the NBA almost instantly overnight, and it will only, it will only blow him up even more than he is. So that gives American basketball players hope, especially the brothers that they Ant came along. He is the the flip of Durant. You gotta love Ant's mindset. Boston, because of Tatum, they want Tatum to win at all costs. I already know. They like Luca to win because Luca ain't quite in the Jokic MB. He needs to win to be in the Giannis and Jokic, and plus what they're trying to put him is Baby Bird. So that's compelling. So that's compelling stories. I do believe they want to help them. It means more money, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna get ready to call it a night. Appreciate it. I'll be on longer tomorrow. Just wanted to get back tonight. Was out and about, so I'm back, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. God willing, tomorrow for sure. Appreciate everybody that came through. Thank you for all the questions and for some great takes. we have some bumps in the road tonight. We're gonna work on that, making sure everybody feels welcome, keep everything flowing nicely. So appreciate y'all as always. Appreciate y'all coming through to you. Got some videos I'll be working on, and peace the best. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay warm. Till next time I catch you, I'm out.